Hello, everybody. I am glad you're here today as we wrap up our latest series called Never Give Up. Now, the past few times we've met, we've been talking about all kinds of things as it relates to resilience. We said that resilience is our ability to bounce back and grow stronger after we have struggled, or we have failed, or we have faced difficult things in our lives. See, listen, every single one of you in this room either has, is, or will experience some sort of setback in your life. Big or small challenges are gonna come at all of us. The kind of challenges that threaten to knock us down and leave us wanting to give up. But that's exactly, people, where resilience comes in. It helps us find the strength to get up, find the strength to keep going, find the strength to never give up. It allows us to stay in the game, so to speak. And I don't know about you, but for me, resilience is definitely something I need more of in my life. Why? Because I found myself in many situations where I've just wanted to give up and give in. For example, let me grab this right here, because this, my friends, is a beautiful Christmas puzzle, okay? My daughter got this past Christmas. She said, "Dad, let's do a puzzle together." You may love puzzles, you may hate puzzles. It's just a story, people, so relax, all right? So we had a little father-daughter time doing the puzzle. It was great at first, having a great time. But then you get to the point where every puzzle piece looks exactly the same. And it seems like it's exactly the same color. And after a while, I was like, you know what? Maybe we should just kind of, we tried, maybe we could push this to another date, but my daughter would not let me give up. I wanted to give up. She made me stay up late until we finished that puzzle. We're proud of it, but that's just a little example of a time in my life where I just wanted to give up. Now, you may have some stuff going in your life that's way more difficult than doing a puzzle, okay? But we all have things in our lives where we want to give up. Your challenges may look different than my challenges, but if there's one thing I think we all know, it's the feeling of wanting to give up and give in and stop trying in the face of really difficult things. When you keep failing that subject, or you get cut from that team, no matter how hard you try, when you can't seem to shake the constant anxiety you carry with you, when your best friend leaves you for another friend group, when your parents get divorced, those are the things that make us want to stop showing up, and they make us want to start giving up. And honestly, I understand why. We receive messages from culture all the time that tell us to believe that our best lives should be easy lives. And in a lot of ways, it's true. So much of life has become really, really easy. We can have pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, sometimes a lot less. We can get an answer to a question we Google in less than a second. We can have a meal ready from the microwave in 2 minutes. We can order that totally random prop from Amazon that we need for a class presentation and have it arrive in 2 days. It's awesome, that's great, but there's a downside. Getting so used to convenience and speed and ease in every area makes the places where things aren't that easy that much harder to get through. Because resilience, people, it's like a muscle. And when we don't use it enough, it weakens. And so when something comes up that takes a lot of work, or takes us longer than we're used to, and we haven't had the practice to be resilient, it feels impossible to take on. When we really have to study to pass every test in that one class, when we need to have a difficult conversation with a friend, when we know it's time to break up with that person who isn't good for us, when we have to speak up about something difficult or something painful, when we face any setback where progress feels slow, or getting through it is difficult, and trying to face it feels like a lot of work, then it just feels easy to give up. In a lot of ways, it is easier to give up. But here's why that's not a great idea. And you already know this. There are many things that happen in this life that aren't going to be easy. Every single relationship that really matters, whether with Jesus or your parents, siblings, or friends, will at some point be difficult. Any hobby or activity or skill you want to be great at will some point be difficult. Some of us are going through things personally right now that are so much more difficult than we think we can handle. A lot of difficult things are unavoidable, and we need to have built up the resilience muscle to be able to handle those difficulties when they come our way. But more than that, as frustrating and as difficult and as painful as difficult times are, what if these difficulties were doing something in us and to us that we would otherwise miss if we weren't going through them? What if there was more to the story? Well, today I want to look at a verse from the New Testament in the Bible. I think it can help us when it comes to resilience and what having resilience in the face of difficulty can do for us. It's from a letter written by a guy who believed in and followed Jesus with his life. It's a guy named Paul. Now, Paul started out as this guy who was kind of the worst. He treated people terribly, especially Christians. But then Paul encountered Jesus and everything changed. Just like that, the mission of his life became something totally different. Now, Paul was all about sharing the hope of Jesus with others, because for Paul, that hope changed everything for him. But y'all, it wasn't easy. In fact, life for Paul was pretty challenging after that. He was disliked, he was beaten, abandoned, persecuted, and put in prison. We're talking about some pretty major setbacks for Paul. And like any of us, when we face setbacks, Paul had a choice. Am I going to give up, or am I going to be resilient? And Paul chose resilience. He kept going, he kept pushing, kept believing he could come back from his setbacks, not because they were easy to come back from, and not because they weren't a big deal, but because Paul had a perspective about them that carried him through them. Now listen to what he writes. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. And then later, in a letter to a church in a city called Corinth, Paul writes something similar when he says this: for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Here is what Paul is not saying. He's not saying resilience is about just getting over it. Resilience is about just brushing it away and moving on. Resilience is about not making such a big deal about what we're facing. No, Paul is saying, hey, we are suffering. We are experiencing trouble. Those things are real, but those things are doing something in us. Those things are working on us and through us. And who we become on the other side, this glory that will be revealed in us that Paul mentions, is better than any trouble we face. But look, if we're honest, you're honest, I'm honest, I think a lot of us would say that when it comes to difficult things, we aren't imagining who we will be on the other side. We are only thinking about what those things mean about who we are in the moment when it feels overwhelming. In fact, we're looking at ourselves in those moments through a totally different filter. So let's think about an air conditioning filter for a second, all right? An air conditioning filter serves as a way to keep dirt and dust from entering into the air system that circulates throughout your home. I know you haven't spent a lot of time thinking about an air conditioning filter, but you're about to, because an air conditioning filter filters out the bad and it only lets in the good. Well, you and I, we all have filters in our lives as well. We have a way through which we see things, ourselves included. And this is a pretty big deal because ultimately what we see determines who we'll be. Seeing equals being. So how you see yourself in the face of difficult times has an impact on who you'll actually be in those moments. For example, if we see ourselves as defeated, right? You see that? It says defeated right here on my filter. We're more likely to be defeated. And I'll throw that one over there. If we see ourselves as weak, we're more likely to struggle having feelings of confidence and strength. You got it? That makes sense. Throw that over there. If we only see ourselves as unworthy, we're more likely to believe that we don't have what it takes, right? That makes sense. If we see ourselves as incapable, and I deal with this one a lot, we're more likely to never even try, right? But here's the good news. Knowing Jesus changes everything. And that means it can change the filter we use to see ourselves in moments of adversity. Really, it gives us a new filter. It reminds us that there is an us we are becoming in the middle of this difficulty, an us that is strong and capable and resilient. And when we keep in mind who we are becoming, we are more likely to not give up hope on us right now in the middle of the difficult thing. If we see ourselves as strong, we're more likely to be strong when adversity shows up in our lives. If we see ourselves as capable, right? We're more likely to try to take on the things that scare and frighten us. If we see ourselves as resilient, we're more likely to approach challenges in life knowing that they don't have the power to break us. Now, here's the thing. I'm not talking about just hyping yourself up with positive words. And sure, positive self-talk can be so helpful in any situation. But here, I'm talking about something more than that. I'm talking about choosing the filter that tells us what's true about who we are in God's eyes. I'm talking about choosing to see ourselves the way God sees us. about choosing to believe there is the work God is doing in you and in me, even in the middle of this difficult time. And that there is a you, there is a me on the other side of this thing that God is making us into. You know what I take all this to mean? That you mean so much to God, and I mean so much to God, that God has given us what we need to be resilient in the face of difficult situations. Not only that, God has not given up on you, but at this very moment, He's shaping the you that you can be on the other side of this. Now, for some of you, this may be all the encouragement you need to change your filter in the face of challenges. This may be the truth you can hold on to when you find yourself standing in front of a setback. But for others of you, I know this is difficult because the troubles, the challenges, the setbacks you're dealing with seem never ending. You're barely able to stay in the fight against what you're facing right now. If that's you, let me just say this. I am truly so sorry for what you're going through. I am sorry that life seems harder than it should be. Even though bouncing back from what's holding you back feels impossible, trust me when I tell you it's not. The story God is writing about you does not end with your difficulty. There is something God is doing in you, no matter how bad it feels right now, no matter how things turn out. Remember what Paul said, the suffering now won't compare to the eternal glory we'll receive later. In other words, there is a you on the other side of this, a glory, and the suffering doesn't get the last word. And that's a new filter we can use to see the challenges in front of us. Here's the good news. You don't have to master that setback this second. It may take time, but eventually it will become lighter. In some cases, you'll realize that what you thought would be a lifetime was really just a brief moment in your life. And the next time you face something like it, you'll do it knowing that you can be resilient. But in order to do that, you have to choose to never give up on you. Let me say that again. You have to choose to never give up on you. Hey, look, God won't give up on you. We won't give up on you. So you can't give up on you either. Remember, look, never give up on you. The more you get up, the more you show up, the more you choose to not give up in the face of setbacks, the stronger and more resilient you'll become. So, to help you consider how you can choose to never give up on you, let's go back to those questions we want to ask ourselves to help us grow more resilient. Number one, what is happening? What are the setbacks you're facing right now? What are the challenges that are causing you to want to give up? What difficulties in life feel heavy? What do you feel like you just cannot conquer right now? Sometimes, look, simply naming the potential setbacks that are standing in front of us makes them lose like a little bit of their power. So start by being honest. Just create a name for what's holding you back. Number two, what is true no matter what? What filter can you change to see yourself or see your setback in a different way? A way that reminds you of what's true first. Go back to the verse we read earlier and think about what Paul said. The suffering isn't the end of the story. Start with something like that. What do you need to do to remember that's true in the middle of what you're going through right now, or when you face trouble in the future? Now, question number three, what can you do? This is where resilience requires us to do something. So, in the face of your troubles right now, what can you do to keep going? Maybe it's sharing with a friend you trust about how you're struggling. Maybe it's talking to a mentor, a small group leader, or a counselor to get more help and more guidance. Maybe it's memorizing scripture that encourages you, or praying consistently for strength to get through it. Maybe it's knowing your limits and practicing self-care, doing things like taking walks and journaling and listening to music, taking a nap, whatever you can identify to help you take a step towards staying in the fight and choosing resilience. I want you to give it a shot. What can you do now? Now look, I know setbacks feel heavy, and sometimes finding the strength to keep trying is difficult. And I think that's a great place where small groups come in. Small groups are a great place to open up about what you're dealing with so that you can find the support you need from people around you, support to keep going. So will you consider sharing with your group today? Let them encourage you to never give up on you. And as you go, I want you to think about this question. What's one thing you can do to remind yourself that who you are now is not who you will be on the other side? That God is working and God is doing something in you. And as you think about that, I want you to remember God is with you, God is doing something in you. So never give up on you.